G'day everyone. Proud to say Barkarati is brought to you by Radix Nutrition, makers of the most technically comprehensive nutrition products that have ever existed. Unlock your potential with Radix. G'day listeners, welcome to Barkarati, the sailing podcast. My name's Jordan Spencer and it's that time of the week where we get to hang out with some really cool sailors, but of course I have to share the mic with my two idiot mates. So first off, let's hope, let's just see, is Mr. Brett Perry?
Greetings, exalted one.
BP, are you there?
Yes, you have two idiot mates. I do apologise for the last couple of weeks. One was self-inflicted. The next one was not self-inflicted. No, look, I've got to say I'm sorry, but look, that's how it is. I hope you got the boot in.
We were very gentle. Let's just, I'll bring in the other bloke and we can get the full conversation going.
He had a voice that could make a wolverine purr.
Mr. Nick Price.
Gentlemen, a few things. Firstly, yeah, we did get the boot in slightly, but because we were of genuine concern, BP,
and we didn't want to upset your mum.
We knew Jill was listening. We didn't want to go
I got a phone call.
Yeah, exactly.
Both weeks. Are you in jail? Are you okay?
So a couple of things. I'll just Jordan Spencer. I just noticed on that little intro, you're like Nadal before he serves, playing tennis.
Like
you've got your little isms coming into the show. Okay, we're going in 3, 2, 1. Glasses get pushed on. Wipe at the nose. Press the button. Turn around. Do the hokey pokey.
Pull the undies out of the bum.
I always use the middle finger when I push my glasses up.
That's what I always say. I always say, can you not use your middle finger? It puts me off, you prick.
Now, thirdly, back in town. Well, Adelaide town, that is. Radelaide.
Yeah.
And you may have not, like, you guys, I know it's pretty hard to take me seriously sometimes, but if you can't take me seriously today, when I'm wearing my hoodie, check this bastard out.
It's a beauty. I love it.
Hey, check it out.
This is great.
It's a glamour.
It's
great
like
for audio.
it's no, for all the Aussie listeners, you'll know what an hoodie is. It's like wearing a sleeping bag. Basically, because it's bloody freezing here. Come from the early summer stages in Europe down to the cold. Yeah, but back on track.
Early summer.
Back in Oz, should be here for at least a week, and then back on the road.
Early summer. Well, still in the UK, and tomorrow there's a 2 in the temperature, so I'm really happy with that.
2 total or 2 in front of a number?
20. That's the maximum tomorrow. It's the hottest day since I've been here.
Are you serious?
So oh my God, it's horrible. And rain
early summer. That's like 10 a.m. on the 29th of July.
So, anyway.
Yeah, well,
move on. But you look great. You look great, Bicey. I love you.
Yeah, no. Got the Uggies on too. Just loving life.
Oh,
yeah.
You could just live where I live.
You've got an uggy head thing to put over the top and an ugly.
Oh, mate, yeah, I've got the full hood, the whole deal. Everyone will know.
Yeah.
Well done.
No.
Well done.
Cool.
Right,
cool. Shall we get this on? Because our poor guest is sitting there listening to us idiots just going, oh, my God.
Yeah, but he's done it before, so he knows what's going on.
Yeah. All right. So let's bring in our guest because we're getting excited. There's a couple of big events turning up on our sailing calendar. Obviously, Olympics in a couple of months. And then something called the America's Cup kicking off pretty soon, actually. August, I think, is the next event, 22 to 25 in Barcelona, Spain. So Cup is a big deal for us. We're pretty excited about it. We spoke to our guest on the show on episode 72 from memory. We didn't talk so much Cup stuff on those days. We were talking about the development and design of boats and the whole thing, because this man is the vice president of Farr Yacht Design. But he's also the hull development lead for American Magic. Why do we always get American Magic? I don't know. We've got a good relationship with that crew. And he is the man behind the new Patriot that's out on the water. I think whole lead design, so with Pete Melvin, I reckon. So very famous names involved in this. Obviously the best of the best involved in designing America's Cup. So we're in for a treat because we get to talk any question we want, we've been told. And he will tell us everything. There are no secrets.
Well, we specifically got told to push him to the point where he could say no comment.
But anyway, let's get him in because we want to get into it. So Britton Ward, it's an absolute pleasure to have you back, mate. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, guys. Awesome to come back, hang out with some Australians. It's good to hear.
Well, you've done well for a kid from Perth, right? Just waving the flag, stars and stripes, hand
That's
on
right.
chest.
That's right. So,
No, cool. Hey, Brit, getting close. We'll jump straight into it. Getting close to things kicking off. How many days left? 80 or something? But
the big red clock I walk by every morning says 83 days till the first race.
yeah, there we go. And so you're currently in Barcelona. Give us the vibe. What's happening over there?
It's all on here now. So we've got, I think we've had 5 boats out there the last few days. Everyone's on their own little schedules, but everyone wants to be on the racetrack, so it gets pretty tight. Pretty exciting.
The accidental testing.
That's right. We're not allowed to line up, so we can't sail on the same board within 400 meters of anyone else for more than 2 seconds, and we can't round the same mark within 30 seconds. But within that, people have started to get a bit testy, so no, it's good. It's all good.
Wow.
Well, I've got to say, it was a few weeks back we had the privilege of spending some time together, and I did try to get some information out of you. Behind the scenes, I got a little bit, but nothing before, obviously, the boat was launched, which was actually that week. And I was so excited to hear more about it. But it's open and in the public now, so it's going to be pretty interesting to see what your thoughts are.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. As America's Cup cycles go, typically you expect refinement and you expect them all to get a bit closer and a bit closer. And in some ways that's true, but they all look pretty different. And I actually think that's really good for the event. Maybe says none of us really know what we're on about, but it's, I think this is, people love to compare it to Formula One, but they race every weekend and they've got 2 cars in development all the time. And we've been working on this for 2.5 years in the dark room with the computers whizzing, and so that's a lot of anticipation just to see it in real life, to see it happen, and then now to see how it measures up.
All right. So our good mate Mozzie Sales has been giving us some pretty in-depth overviews of the boats. You, as the designer, are you allowed to give us an in-depth overview of the boats?
I can give you some overview, I think, of things I've seen,
Right.
I think
General observations. General observations.
So, look, I think the really interesting thing about these boats is they have to do 2 things that are often quite disparate. We've got to take off. We've got to do that quickly and in some waves. And then once we get in the air, we've got to be the best. The hull's got to become part of the sail plan, right? We want to make that sail plan appear as it goes all the way to the water and gets a reflection plane and gets efficiency. So sort of everyone's got a bit of a knob on how much aerodynamic advantage do they want and what are they prepared to pay for it in a hydrodynamic advantage and a disadvantage in the water, right? And I think every team comes to a different point on that based on their experience or what they think the weather conditions are going to be, or or what their tools say, and so that's, to me, quite interesting. We pushed really hard on aerodynamics, but the sea state here is not like Auckland. It bounces off that seawall and it's pretty ugly, and the sea state's much bigger than the wind conditions and usually not aligned with the wind. And that's a really hard problems to solve and understand. So we've got a fair bit of effort on that, and I think you see that in our boat versus some of the others. We're not quite as pushed, perhaps, in the rocker line, trying to get every last ounce of aerodynamic advantage, because when you hit a wave, some of that can go away. So
it's
Can I ask you this one, Brett? Just we'll get back to the technical side, but as a designer, along with probably, a bunch of different designers for every other team, and you're just seeing all the other boats come out, are there little things you're like, fuck, damn it, should have done that? Or, we've definitely got that over them. Or you just don't know still. Or we looked into going down that particular road, but didn't go for reason A, B, and C. Is it as subtle as that, or not really?
Well, look, every boat has a bunch of features that I think everyone's identified, the deep bustle and no rudder tower, or upright cyclers or not, and when we started this, I really wanted to be in a position when all the boats came out where I could basically stand up and tell the team, hey, we looked at every one of these pieces, maybe not in the same packages, but we at least got an idea of what every one of these features was, and we assessed it, and we chose our path. And I feel like we can say that there's not a feature on any other boats we didn't look at in some way, shape, or form before we made our choices, and that's a pretty nice place to be in. So where I sit today, I understand some of the trades they've made and why, but I like where we've gone. I think it's a good place to be. So
that opens up an important point about sort of the design process, because what you've just said then, every other team would have done the same thing. They would have looked at, would have looked at everything as well. And so they've made different choices. What I'm interested in is, how do you make that choice? Did you guys set up a decision sort of pathway? Like, have you set goals? Had you worked out what you thought your dream boat would look like in terms of performance, and then made decisions based around that? Or did that change? Or how did you decide, okay, let's do this over that?
Well, first off, you build a set of tools that tries to give you the ability to predict performance, right, of what's a chain going to be. And some of these problems are hard, so you want to make that, trying to have a first cut that's really efficient, right? So you can throw ideas at it and say, there might be something this way, there's probably not something that way, and then go into more detail. And so I think we set up sort of multiple iterations where, the first round we just sat around and a bunch of us just came up with as many ideas as we could. We left field, we looked at the rule. I wasn't involved last time, and so I kind of came in with a clean set of eyes on it. I think that was pretty valuable. I saw what everyone did last time, and I could just sort of think about the problem at hand and some of the lessons learned from last time. And so we set up a sort of structure where we gave ourselves a deadline and said, all right, using everything on this day, what would you build? And try to pull that into a full design and say, if we had to go today, what would it be? What's the best thing we've got? And some of that's informed by science, and some of that's informed by experience, and some of that's informed by gut feel, right? You can't get enough information to make a fully informed decision, and it's real life, right? The wind's moving around, the waves, things are moving. So you kind of got to rely a bit on intuition and a bit of experience, and having a pretty nice deep team really helps that. But let's talk about. I think it's really important that you balance sort of the scientific constant optimization refinement with making sure you're getting enough ideas that are maybe out there and don't fall that, right? You can just keep refining, but if you didn't start in a great place, you're never going to find that great idea, And I think this is something all the teams wrestle with. It's a hard one.
We actually discussed it when I was with you last, but I was also with Matt Sheehan yesterday. He was doing some stuff with us on the boat on the X2, and he actually was down there during the week. I don't know if you caught up with him or not, but he said exactly the same thing that we said, and that is that there's small refinements and differences between 4 teams, and there's one standout team. And we know that that's Ineos. We know Ineos is a different boat than the rest of them. What do you feel about Ineos, and what do you feel about what's the major standouts, if you like, between the teams? Have you got one major standout between each boat?
Well, I think what's most striking about Ineos is it's much just bigger volumetrically. We're all about the same length and the same width, but beyond that, the boat is the better part of I think half a meter to taller than we are. I mean, you see them
For
next
all
to
the for all the gold medals, you got to store them somewhere. In the locker.
I mean,
They're in the locker down below.
yeah. So, I mean, some of that is you've got to, if you choose to have upright cyclers, then you basically want to bury them as much as you can, and there's a max height on the boat. And so basically all the other boats except ours are at that max height, and then trying to get the cyclers to bury in there. But
So you're saying yours has got the less height?
yeah.
Just purely because of the recumbent cyclor?
Yeah, and the
Recumbent
shift of the
cycler.
recumbent cycler inboard that allows us to get away
Well,
with
the
that.
inboard recumbent cyclor.
That's right.
Inboard recumbent cyclor.
Yeah. The IRC is what they've been calling it.
Let's see.
Like it's the classic US thing. Everything is an acronym in the US. So, especially, so the IRC.
So what job you going for? Oh, the IRC, mate.
So, I mean, last time Team New Zealand, they had a mast extension that let them get the deck down, and the bottom of the sail plan sort of uncontrolled, so you can carry sail all the way down to the deck. And that's probably the interesting about Ineos is they don't. They're the only ones that have a full height deck at the mast or close to it. So
Well, they also have quite a lot more volume in the bow. A rudder further forward. I mean, this was a big topic of discussion with Matt yesterday. It was stand out the differences. I mean, no, we're not here picking on a boat. But what we're saying is that you're a designer. There's X amount of designers on each team, and it's kind of like my stepfather when he was in the army, and my nana stood up and said, "Look, my son is the only one in time." Now, there's 4 boats. There's 4. There's 4 boats that are quite similar, and one boat that's either in time or out of time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, I said to our guys, I don't think you know, Team New Zealand's always going to be tough, and they have a leg up, and so just matching them, that usually doesn't win the cup. I mean, it may do, but I always sort of felt you had to make a step
Something
beyond,
different.
right? You had to make a leap, and I think we made some big choices that way, and the boat reflects it, but it certainly doesn't look as sort of extreme as Ineos does in some of their features. I guess my big takeaway with Ineos and Analingi to a lesser extent is they both have a really high premium on aerodynamics, but it seems very targeted to very sort of narrow operating conditions, right? So whereas my goal with our boat was really, I want the widest possible groove as possible, because everything's moving around when you're sailing at 45 knots and the apparent wind angle's not steady and the height's not steady and the waves. And so it's just a little bit of a philosophical difference there. And so our boat's much more rounded, much more lower profile. So as the wind direction changes around it, a lot less changes, I think. And whereas Ineos, to me, seems very sort of idealized for some very certain specific conditions, right? It's got to sail at a very set trim angle. It's got to, lock in. And so
I'm wondering.
Give us your theory, then I'll give you mine, Jordan.
Mine's genuine. Some of those teams you've mentioned.
What's yours, Bicey?
Some of those teams you've mentioned are actually working with Formula One aerodynamics teams and design teams. They've famously bought in, that they've partnered up, Ineos and the Italians have also jumped in on that. So I wonder, the dynamics of Formula One is that, it's a car, it sits on a track, it's not moving more than a couple of inches. So perhaps they've been biased because of that, like the Formula One guys haven't been on a boat, that goes up and down and left and right and all that.
Pitches and rolls.
Yeah, I mean, I think you see a lot of those features of the boat on Ineos especially, and your immediate jump is to a Formula One car and trying to control this vortex and that one and change that. So I mean, certainly, look, that's their lineage for sure. No doubt there's a lot of bright guys there, but I think, there's some peculiarities with our little industry and sailing in two fluids and these things that like I said, I think probably we just put a little stronger weight on some of those things perhaps than the others did. So I kind of see it as a spectrum, and every team's had to make a different sort of judgment call that way.
But Jordan, you've kind of given me the perfect lead-in.
Okay, good.
This is quite associated with my theory as well. And by all means, for all the POMs out there, we're not picking on your boat at all.
Yeah.
But do you think the data for the aero package didn't come from the F1 team? It actually came from the Ineos Grenadier. I'm looking at some pictures now. You're right, Brit. It's quite a big, bulky boat, isn't it? Very straight sides. And that whole bow section is, extremely tall, like you say, with the mast section is at that maximum height for the mast step, rather. So it's a big, bulky vessel.
Yeah, and so they clearly feel there's an aerodynamic advantage in that shape that's maybe more important than having sail area down there. They think they're getting some additional forces that are helping.
But I mean, looking at the footage. I mean, looking at the footage of all the boats, they all look fantastic. I mean, for us, we're not seeing obviously the data. We're not seeing the angles. But what we're seeing is boats that are going bloody fast. I mean, that's what we're seeing.
And they are.
Every one of them work.
I think it's a leap. It really feels like we're maybe the third or fourth iteration rather than the second. I think that's just sort of a testament to how far all the teams have managed to push all their simulation tools and their refinement tools. And I think when you see that the foil areas, from what we can see, we haven't seen Team New Zealand's latest new foils, but all the others are probably within 5-10% of area. These are very subtle differences. They're very important differences, but they're really hard to pick out from photographs, right? So when the boat's in the air and we see all these differences, that's actually not that big a percentage of the total drag of the system, right? So it's a bit easy to get carried away with some of these things. But,
some feedback that came back down my path was based on the French team, obviously taking on the New Zealand package. It seems like if there's not so much a conservative approach to it, but a definite learned approach to it, is that they've taken on a lot of shared knowledge, if you like. Does that put you in a bit of an uneasy position in terms of the fact that New Zealand are going to be strong? We know that, and the French package is going to be a version of the New Zealand package, but it's going to have obviously upgrades. Does that sort of concern the teams that are around?
I don't. I mean, look, the package is really nice, and that's really the only way they could get in the race, right? They had to jump ahead.
Yep.
I think, there's sort of broader questions there. Every team's had to make their own sort of strategic choices, right? So we spent an awful lot of time with our old Patriot, sailing it both in Pensacola and here. We fitted it with cyclers. We updated systems on it. We did some of that because of when we could get our AC40s, but we sort of doubled down on learning as much as we could from the AC75 platform. The French didn't have the opportunity to sail on a 75. So, they've got a really steep curve in front of them, and the boat hasn't sailed yet. Alinghi also hadn't had a team, but they got boat 0, Team New Zealand's first boat from last time, and they put in a lot of hours on that, and their learning curve, I think, is exponential. So I don't think you can shortchange that. But the interesting thing is both Luna Rossa and Ineos had 75s, and they chose not to sail them. They built LEQ12s, and they tested the small scale stuff, but they didn't use the big boats. And you'll see if that's a tactical error or a brilliant tactical move. But for us, I think what we learned to get sailing that big boat here and in Pensacola was really, really important in letting us get up the curve with the new boat so quickly.
Brit, you said second iteration, and that raises a really important question. Obviously, second iteration, it's a new cup cycle with 37th cup. It means that the rules have been rewritten. Was there much change in the rules to affect the design process? Like, you know, I'll be honest, I have read the rules, but I can't remember.
Well, you wouldn't remember. I mean, it's basically something like 160 pages of technical regulations, right?
Yeah.
It's immense, and every time you read it, you read something else. And
bit like high performance boating by Harry Bethwaite.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, the major changes, of course, are we're only allowed to build one boat. We've reduced the weight of the boat substantially, and we've got deeper and longer foils. And so all of that's about improving its light air performance. And I think we're certainly seeing that with the boats. Many of them can take off in 6 knots, and they've shown that. So that's sort of maybe the biggest change.
Yep.
The other ones are maybe a little more subtle in that in terms of how many pieces of components we can build and foils and what the restrictions are on those sorts of things and how we can reuse things from last time and so on. But that's a bit in the weeds. But I think...
Well, then the whole design process comes in. So when I look on your website, 70,000 hours to build the boat, 108,000 hours to design the boat, right? That obviously there's a lot of computer modelling going into that, is what it says on your website. What I'm interested in is when you pull an America's Cup team together, you get the best of everything. The only thing they haven't really added is the best 3 idiots to talk about boats. That's the only thing they haven't added.
It's page 168.
Yeah, that's coming up. That's in the next iteration. But when I say that, like you've got incredible level sailors, and I'm interested in how much influence that conversation comes into the design process. Like with top flight sailors, they want a boat to feel a certain way, we dropped from 11 crew to 8, so systems have to change. I'm really interested in whether, like, has automation gone up? Do the sailors actually have some influence on the design process? All those sorts of elements, how that changed the approach. And
well, they've got one benefit. They've got Tim Schlonsby on board.
Tim Schlonsby. I'm also interested, two different skippers as well, that whole process. Like, you have to set up one side of the boat different to the other. I'm really interested how it's all going to play out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think, look, it doesn't matter what I'm designing. I think that your end user, the end customer, has got to be the driving force, and they've got to buy into it. Right. And my job is to try to explain the positives, the negatives, what are the advantages, and then to try to get out of them, what are the specific features that are good. And some of these, like I said, I can say this thing's worth this many meters a minute VMG or something, but I have to get the nuance from them, right? I have to understand, and a lot of this push for a boat that's not with a wide groove and boat that can give some good warning before it cavitates, or the list is a mile long. It's been really important. So every one of those big milestones, we sat in a big room with the full sailing team represented, and before we committed, they were on board, and we're asked for input and guidance, and at the same time, you got to push the limit, right? A lot of the times the performance is on the edge, and so a lot of what we're searching for is, where is that edge? There's a control edge or a handleability edge, or is there some other operational constraint that maybe the beautiful scientific models don't capture that we need to account for? So that the only way you get to the optimal is with all parts of the team understanding it and trying to pull that information together to get an answer,
Which is all jokes aside. Tom Slingsby obviously comes with a wealth of experience, and he's obviously what's that?
I was just going to say, at this level, you can't differentiate, I reckon. But yeah, go on. It's not just...
Yeah, no, I was just saying a wealth of experience in various things. I mean, obviously the input must have been huge from Tom and the likes of the team.
Well, certainly. I mean, Tom and Goody were. I mean, you know, they're the helms, and you know, Paul Goody was here last time with American Magic, but Tommy hadn't sailed in 75 before he came on board. So yeah, I think he had a bit of a learning curve. I mean, yeah, sailed GP, his experience there, and then the moths for both of them sort of invaluable. And there's always a question of how do you apply those lessons? I think, you know, an awful lot of time in the 40s and just an awful lot of time racing those 240s against each other, trying to understand what makes them go, what are the tactical reasons to do things, you know, to building that playbook, which is, you know, really extensive. All those things are really important. And, you know, like I said, 84 days to that first race, it's not a lot of time to get the match out of it, right?
With the one of the processes we've seen is the use of simulators, you know, how much time is spent in the simulators, and you know, that's increasingly taking up more time. I'm interested. Do you design your own simulator, or is it a standard one?
It's our in-house, or you know, maybe core pieces of it are, but all the physics and a lot of it's been fully customized for us.
Okay.
Is it in the shape of the Daytona 500 car game?
And
No,
can we have it when you finish with it?
I don't think so.
Could we have a go?
Can you drop it down
well,
the Des Moines Sailing Club once you're done?
Go to
We can go
Mets
and
and
play
have
it
a
on
go
Friday
at
nights.
the AC41, right? I mean, that
Yeah,
was,
correct.
and that was, I mean, it was, and it still is a pretty critical part of our development, right? That's, you know, you're fine tuning all the crew interfaces and where they can see things, and you're mocking up cockpits, and you want to make
I
it
was
as
going to say
realistic as
mocking up
possible.
cockpits. What about the ICRs or IRCs? Sorry,
Oh.
the IRCs were they on there as well?
We might have done that.
Okay.
Well, I can answer that, BP, because I haven't told you, Blakes, but I actually got asked to try out for
Good on
American
you.
Magic, and obviously in the IRC role, but they couldn't design the aero around my head. They
Boat
couldn't.
wasn't long enough.
It was,
But we
Had to
did
go to
come up
max
with a
height to
design
fit the head
theory.
in.
But we did come up with a design theory,
Yeah,
and that
with
was that all cyclors had to wear the same helmet. It was one helmet.
an aerodynamic.
That was the problem.
But this
is
is-
that the other two had normal size heads, except your head stood up in between the two.
That's right. But I think this is where American Magic's actually been, you know, the team's quite clever, because with the recumbent element, you know, recumbents always bring aerodynamics, and by putting them in the recumbent space, you've actually dropped that whole. There was so much lower. So from the aerodynamic element of it, you know, it gives you an advantage straight away, but you lose power as a recumbent.
Well, that's the theory, but I don't think we're suffering any power deficiency. Let me just put it that way. I think that's the best way to phrase it. I mean,
Well, that was nearly a no comment there.
I think it does. I mean, the biggest thing for us is it buys us a lot of those aerodynamic options that it didn't otherwise. I think it's actually much safer if they do stuff the bow in.
Yep.
The guys are landing on their back, not planting their foreheads on the corner of a cockpit. And the recumbent cockpits by rule are a little bit bigger, so it's probably easier to get the guys out if there's any issues.
Yeah. The other advantage, of course, is with pretty much any recumbent you'd see on a road, you've obviously got the long orange pole with the little orange flag at the top, so it's kind of easy to it's easier to find them in a capsize.
Yeah. Are they special people?
Oh no. You'd have to be pretty special to take
We
that
love you
role.
all.
Yeah.
All right. Jokes aside,
Yeah.
gents.
Yep, copy.
Jokes aside.
You don't get this chance.
We're not
often.
joking.
No. So I'm genuinely interested in the hydro side. I mean, let's just say above the water, everyone is within a few percent of each other, but below the water, that 5 or 10% of area that you spoke about before, the difference that's making. Like, we're second generation, but third or fourth iteration. Are we so close now that do we think the hydro package could be the difference, or it's a combo depending on where we go? Like, as far as cavitation, all those sorts of things are concerned, are we that close?
It's a combo for sure. It's just remember that water density is 1,000 times what air is. So tiny changes in those foil sections and their behavior can have a big impact, right? And so I think you see awful lot of effort and differences in the boats, how they're trying to deal with the spray, reduce the spray drag, for instance, and sort of all the details of the sections, minimizing the bulbs, getting all the actuations in there. There's so many intricate details in how these foils are built, how they're finished, that even from the recon photography is hard to pick out what everyone's done, so. And again, it comes back to a trade-off, right? It's a very constrained track, and you're going, boundary to boundary in a minute and a half. And so maneuvers are key, and there's a trade-off in things like foil area in maneuvering versus straight line speed, right? So there's not one answer really there. And I think we've tried to bear that in mind, I think, pretty critically, that so much of this time you're spent accelerating, right?
Right.
And it's not, you're not poking along at 12, 14 knots at VMG over this long race course. It's boundary to boundary in a minute. Every maneuver matters. You can lose, a bad maneuver can lose you. I mean, if you fall off the foils, a huge amount of distance to the mark. And that can be a lot more than what you gain or loss on a straight line, right? And it just happens those maneuvers are really hard things to simulate.
No, that's a super good point, because it's not like you've got a 2-mile runway, right? You literally, like you say, you bang, bang, bang maneuvers. Maneuvers are going to be super important. So yeah, no, that's a fantastic.
And I think you look at a lot of the boats and you see, like I said, you try to figure out what their thought path is, and some people put an awful lot of effort on different selections for like main sheet systems and so on. I mean, the most noticeable probably is that Team New Zealand's now gone for the underdeck boom for both the main and the jib, and Luna Rossa, that had it last time, got rid of it on the main, right? And
that was my
Team New
next
Zealand
question.
has 2 main sheets. They don't. And look, every bit of control can give you performance, but the question becomes, can you use it efficiently
in a
on
short
that
space of time?
boundary to boundary? Right.
It's a good point.
You'd hate to be the bilge rat, right, down there bailing out, tacking, and you have to duck down under the boom.
Jump up over. How does it work? Like, it's insane. So what's it like underneath your boat?
So there's not a lot of space in any of these things down there. I'll tell you. It's
I mean, that whole aerodynamic discussion that, Bicey was talking about the foils and underwater, but the same element comes into the rig setup. I was just trying to look through the pictures then, and I was actually looking at the main sheeting systems when you mentioned main sheeting systems. So, and I know our mate Tom at Mozzie Sales will be he'll be listening into this intensely. So, like going from the underdeck boom, which was kind of very cool when it happened. Like I remember explaining to people, they've got an underdeck boom. They've got an underdeck boom when the first cup went out, and then people trying to conceptualize that. So what is the best way to do it? Is it just a track system? Like what are you doing? Just different.
like I said, I think they both have plus and minuses. The biggest thing is, where the boats are in a power for the sail controls that are all coming off hydraulic pressure generated by those 4 cyclers, right? And so everything has to be viewed through sort of this prism of power management, right? And so one of the biggest power draws and one of the biggest controls that's moving all the time, and you can see this when you watch them, is that traveler is moving up and down, right? Because you're trying to control a heel angle, and it's your biggest control. So a lot of these quests are about how do we minimize energy, minimize friction, maximize functionality of the traveler, right? But you can see that, like in Team New Zealand and the French boat, she's very, very tapered in the transom, and there are some aerodynamic gains to that, but they've sacrificed a fair bit of effective traveler width to do that. And that's, so there's a trade-off there as well that most likely manifests in the takeoff zones when you want to maximize the traveler width. So Sometimes if you choose a certain deck system or you choose your cyclers to be upright, that some of these things can dictate the entire geometry of the boat in other ways, right?
So does that mean, like, first thing that come to my head, as soon as you mention that, then I'm going, okay, well, their traveller's going to be slower, or it's not going to move as far. Big turn down on them before the start. Get them to do a big turn down. They can't respond. They get a bit of extra heel. They're going to be slower to accelerate. So that suddenly becomes part of my strategy in how I race them before the start. Is that the sort of stuff that you guys go into?
Yeah, I think those boats are unveiled, and I was behind the computer basically developing our internal 3D models of every one of the competitors and trying to isolate what their features are. And for that very reason, to try to love it. You want to understand what they've done. You want to be able to explain. I want to be able to explain.
Now here comes a no comment. What's the strengths and the weaknesses?
No
comment.
Pushed it too far.
No comment.
So
I'd be interested who within the team, and I mean, US are probably more famous for this than anyone, like with the hierarchy and the titles and all those sorts of things, president, vice presidents, founders, patrons, all those sorts of things. But who's the trade-off officer within the team? Because everything's a bit of a trade-off.
Well, that's
trade-off by committee.
Yeah, right. Trade-off by committee. That's how
get everyone's buy-in.
Oh, so it's actually called the trade-off committee.
No, that's the TOC.
TOC.
Oh, TOC. Guys, we got the TOC meeting.
Guys, we got
Friday,
a TOC meeting. We're going in.
TOC meeting on Friday.
Brit, you talked about the power element, right? So, in terms of big power usage, one of the things on, say, the Sail GP boats, it's a small reservoir, so there's a requirement for the grinders to be pumping all the time. Is that the same issue in these cup boats? Like, are they chewing up so much power that you could actually not have enough power? Because what was it? Was it the last cup? They used to sit on the boat. They'd bring in a substitution and power between races. They'd bring the reservoir up. Or maybe that was. Anyway, I remember that.
We have an accumulator as part of the rule, and so of it is just
one design.
Yeah, it's all one design, that part. And so, yes, if you're going maneuver after maneuver, you could be in a power deficit, right?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm asking. Yeah.
And so part of the puzzle is the guys need to understand. They have to have good communications with those cyclers all the time. And the cyclers have to know how to be prepared and what's going to happen. But you have to basically know how you're going to prioritize actions. What are the major ones? What can you do away with if you are in a deficit? What modes of sailing the boat will prove that?
Right.
So they're quite complicated trade-offs that way. And one of the big changes in this rule are the allowance for sort of what you term linked logic, right? Aussie Sails has done some stuff where you saw on Team New Zealand where they dump the foil arm and the mass rotation changes, and that's kind of an example of a linked logic control, right? Yep. So still manual flight, and there's a lot of things about what data streams that guys can use and see that are real time or delayed 2 seconds. But this whole being able to sequence logic together is a big open. Cool, isn't it? It's a big open thing, and it's another one where Team New Zealand, I think, they added this to the rule because they're the leaders in this, right? And it's another one where we're going to have to leap over them to figure it out. So
logic,
yeah,
logic,
mechatronics.
So I got one. The sailors, obviously, you've got a what?
Won't trimmer come up. We've been talking about cycles for so long.
Exactly. So call it main trimmer and helmsman, one on each side. As far as the trim of the boat, are you seeing differences side by side? Put Goody and Tom alongside each other, but also put the main or the traveller operator for example.
Great point.
Are you seeing like someone like really going hard at it, or someone a bit smoother on it? You know, you sail with different people and they drive in different techniques, down waves, up waves, jerking around, not jerk around, arguable what works better, and seeing that translate into performance.
Yeah, I think that's, how teams are splitting up what the helm and the flight controller / trimmer are doing, depending on what board they're doing and how they're doing it, how they're transitioning those things through a maneuver. Every team's going to be doing their own different flavor of that, right? Certainly, these, we're lucky to have some really, have great helms and a good lineup of trimmers and flight controllers, and they work pretty hard to on those guys to train them. I think the goal is to try to be. We just want them to sail a boat in the best attitude for the conditions, but each of them have their own, I guess, unique personalities that do show up in them, and our goal is to try to learn from them and understand. Logical one is, well, the waves are not aligned with the wind, so how much of it is just it's the right mode for those conditions, not necessarily a difference in a.
Well, there's a difference between what it looks like and what it feels like, and it comes down to majority of the time in this situation, it comes down to what it feels like.
Yeah, so we're out there race training, doing free starts, racing on the course, because ultimately that's what we've got to do. Right?
I mean, and every yachty loves this word, the wind shear. And I'm guessing, it's
blame it on the shear.
Constantly changing environment, right? So not one day is going to replicate the next.
Exactly. So
just back onto the Cyclones. I mean, I'm just fascinated by them, to be honest. Do they actually know what the bloody hell they're getting themselves into?
They do now. We've been working for a long time.
When they first started, none of them really come from a sailing background. We've seen all that stuff, but now they're out there doing it. They must be proud of it. They must be excited.
The guys they're incredibly dedicated. I mean, aside from their athletic, what the numbers these guys can produce are just mind blowing. But I think every last one of them is. I mean, a lot of them are really bright guys outside of their athletics. Stanford engineers and so on. And
so they're understanding. They're getting a real understanding of what's going on.
Yeah, and then they want to know more. And they've all been working really hard to learn the intricacies of yacht racing and how it applies to their job.
Be careful there. Next thing you know, they'll be yelling out some stat tactics or second guessing.
So they're and a lot of them are stretched into other areas of the campaign to help out. Whether it's in hydraulics or building stuff. I mean, they're really owning that part of it, and it's awesome. Great. See.
Yep, love it.
It's one of the interesting things was we had a video come from New Zealand the other day where the youth team were out in the AC40, and obviously they did a big nose stuff and they split
it was wicked, wasn't it?
The two membranes of the sail went different ways, and it was fantastic. Did the reverse back out.
Sorry, Jay. Just to add on that, I was actually in the bar last night after work having.
Oh, really?
Interesting. No, just quietly, and I was with Bonner. We've called it the Bonner.
Oh, the Bonner.
The AC Bonner.
He's self-called it, has he? You know that.
Well, we called it. He said, "Hey, I wasn't even there. It wasn't me."
But I'm interested, I think I made the comment against it, may have been in Barcarati voice, but, the simulator, didn't do that on the simulator. I'm interested, how, now that you're sailing these boats and you did the simulator work, how close are things, is it coming?
Yeah.
Is it, there's stuff that just didn't happen, like you didn't get on the simulator, or is it pretty good?
Yeah, I mean, the problem with the simulators, especially if you're trying to simulate extreme events like that are really far away from normal sailing, is how much time do you spend building physical models to do that, right? It doesn't give you a lot of mileage out there. So, but I think we've sort of been on a continual update curve, and it's it's been really useful, I think, for the guys to, they knew what they were getting when they stepped in that boat. They knew where every control would be. They knew that it was, and I think it's been really helpful that way. But yeah, there's always some discrepancy with reality, and it's how much energy do you want to put into understanding or improving that, right? I think it's pretty telling for the AC40s, especially the youth and the women's teams. Many of them haven't sailed a 40 yet, and pretty soon
why
we're
we're seeing
going to have 6 of them on the start at the same time, right?
Carnage, bumper bumps.
So it's the potential is going to be for a handful there. So the simulator's been really key for them. But that said, when our youth and women's team have been out there practicing on the 40, they've got it incredibly quickly. They're really impressive too. So that's going to be good to watch for sure.
To be honest,
speaking of simulator,
Yeah.
Brit, there's a classic move American Magic took part in during the last America's Cup, named the Dino. Did you simulate that one just for the boys?
Well, that would have been preloaded.
Wasn't there last time. Can't.
It's nearly a no comment.
I wasn't there.
Nearly a no comment.
Do not press the D button.
What does this button with a D on it say?
It's got a cross through it. At the launch for your new boat, there was something quite unique about your boat at the launch. There was no rudder on it. Did somebody just forget to make it or attach it, or was that strategic? Like with the launch, you're trying to keep secrets.
Well, there was no secrets. I actually wasn't there that day when they did the christening. I was away, so I didn't get to see it till a week later. But no, we can use, and many of the teams are doing this using legacy parts. I mean, Lunaros is sailing with the same rudder as they off their old boats, and we sailed for the first, week or so with our rudder from the old boat. Just while we're getting the new one in place and making sure it all works, So some of it's just a development sequence.
Yep.
Don't put the new fruit out if you don't need to right yet.
Well, what is the rules on the new fruit? Just for the listen, how many rudders are you allowed to build? How many sets of foil? Well, not foils, but I guess foils.
For the main foil, you've got three foils, if you will. So,
yeah.
And then there's a larger number of flaps you can build for those foils, but all of them have to fall within, they all have to be based off a similar parent shape, and there's weight and area restrictions in the amount of changing you can do between those. Rudders, I think you're allowed potentially 3. We're using an old one, and we'll have 2 new ones, and then the number of elevators is, I think, unlimited. But sort of all that comes back to manufacturing time and depending on how you're building them, can you get them in?
A bit like Formula One, isn't it? Which tyre to use for practice and warm up and qualifying? And
yeah. Well, so Team New Zealand launched their boat in New Zealand, and they sailed it with their old foils on it. They did that tune-up, and that buys them more time while the boat's on the ship here to get their new set of stuff built and delivered, which is
okay. There's a really important question though. In the rule, like once you start the cup cycle, you've got to use the same foil.
Yep.
You can't change it. So,
yep.
And you've given us a few little hints through this conversation. The course is tight, therefore we're in more of an acceleration mode. We need to be up. It's choppy water. To me, I'm hearing you're going to be towards the larger size on the foils, like you want it to be responsive, you want it to be safe. So you're going to be sacrificing top speed, because that's what I've picked up from the whole comments.
Well, I think just looking at the wind distribution that we're expected to race in, I think that in its own right is probably, you're not going to go out there designing foils that you can run up to 55 knots, right?
Yeah.
Because the likelihood we're going to race in that is just
you want to be at 30. You want to be at 30 as quickly as you can.
So, I think those trade-offs are subtle, right? A lot of them in the last iteration were people went to big area because they thought they needed to take off, right? Whereas these bustle-driven holes tend to accelerate, have a much more smooth acceleration curve. So maybe it doesn't put such a premium on the foil size to take off.
Okay.
Bearing in mind the boats are 1,000 kilos lighter as well, so that obviously adds to it.
They're lighter and they have longer span foils, and all of that helps.
Okay. All right. So on that rule, only one set of foils, you can't change them. Now, I've sailed against some guys in one design classes where you get a drawn boat, and sometimes the boat's not. They may have got a bad boat, and they accidentally drop it off a cliff, and have to replace the boat. Is that in the rules? Like, you only allow one foil, but what happens if somebody drives over your foil with a truck?
Forklift.
Well, there is this whole specific section relating to this, and if it's damaged, and you have to prove how it's damaged.
Yeah, right.
And you have to have a list of substitutable components. And if you change one, your competitor is allowed to change one too.
Oh,
so,
okay. Yeah. But so is there a role then for someone like what the nickname we gave out is, every boat's got someone we call test rig on the boat who breaks things, So is there a role for Cole Langford in?
It's not official yet, but
I'm pretty sure.
The card's going to the printers as we speak.
Sorry, Kyle. We just use you as a technical template for
bring the gull in, bring the seagull in.
No, it is interesting how all that's going to play out because obviously, the advantage your team has is that when all the lawyers start playing in the courts, which is going to be a major part of every good cup, there's no more litigate society than the US, I don't think, on the world. So, do you see that as one of your tactical advantages coming into the cup?
Look, these things are going to go. Someone's going to protest something. That's the cup, right? Yep. That's the nature of the cup. And for those of us that made different choices, that probably puts a bit of a bullseye on us. And our goal is just to be prepared for that and basically just let the guys focus on racing the boat and keep that stuff away from them best we can, right?
From a personal point of view, Brit, I know you're very, very proud of this boat. I know you're very proud of what has. Oh, thanks, Jay. Yeah. From a personal point, you're very proud of the boat. My question is emotional attachment to the cup. I've done the cup, and although I didn't have much to do with the design, you are emotionally attached, and it can be quite up and down emotionally. I mean, are you ready for that? Are you seriously ready for what's going to happen over the next 100 days?
I don't know, but like once you have this illness, right? And I got this illness when Australia 2 won, and I was a kid in Perth, and then the defense was there, and my whole career's been kind of charted around trying to do this.
The whole career's been based on an illness.
Yes, basically. Well, I mean, like Bob Fisher's book basically said it all. But hopefully with a little age and experience, I can keep it contained now. It'd be a little more even keeled over time, right?
But it's there's so much time invested into this and passion and knowledge and all that sort of stuff. I mean, ultimately, we would love for the boat to get up there and have a win. There's no question. But obviously, there's only one winner.
Yep, and you got all the fundamentals are still there. Stay in the sky, hit the start line first, make the right call on the first shift. All those things matter, just like they do in your laser, right?
Should have gone left.
So, and I've been there. I was there in 2007 and 2003, and we didn't win it. So I've been on the other side of that for sure.
Just for all the listeners out there, what. Without even realising it, BP and this whole conversation's gone. Is they've brought up there's a very famous Australian poem by Rupert McCall, Green and Gold Malaria, and I suggest to anyone that's never seen it or read it, just watch the video and just you'll get it. You'll get the passion. There's never been a better poem written, I don't reckon. But just for those who've never watched it, Green and Gold Malaria, Rupert McCall. Just jump on it and you'll get that passion. And Brett, if you're looking at me like, as soon as you mentioned the cup, I thought that was the first thing that popped into my mind. So just get that one out.
Well, you've got to actually tattooed on your back, don't you? Jordan's tramp stamp, Green and Gold Malaria.
I've actually met Rupert and had a few million beers with him once. So fantastic bloke. So cool.
We should get him on the show.
But you know what you're talking about, pride though. The interesting thing is that I look at, you know, I'm quite passionate about looking at sailing boats, and your boat, I don't know what it is, but it's just pretty. It's a beautiful boat. I really like it.
No, thanks, mate. I appreciate that. I think maybe some of us yacht designers, me and Pete Melvin, you know, it's really hard for us to let something ugly. It doesn't matter what the numbers say. We just there's something about a beautiful boat that feels fast, I think, and I don't think we can lose that. I mean,
Here. Nice philosophy, Brit.
I got into yacht design because it's both art and science, and it's a lot more science than it was art at the beginning, but it's still both, and I think it still needs both. I don't think you can get to the ultimate optimal answer with the black box and the AI just yet. I think we've got a little time yet, you know. So,
yep, you've still got a job. I think for sure. And one thing, the paint jobs on the boats. Are you playing with the visuals a little bit with your particular paint job?
Oh, absolutely. I think every team's done that, and I mean you're still playing with weight, and we've got to use approved paint coverings by the rule, and there's a whole nother list of rules on that sort of stuff. But within that, I mean, the dark blues, clearly that's got historical lineage for yacht club challenges and American Magic, of course. But it makes that shape pretty hard to read, which is a pretty nice feature.
Yeah, I'm just looking in the recon part of the Cup website now, and you're right. You can't really take much away from it. I guess. But on the paint job, is Luna Rossa vinyl or a super duper paint?
I think it's a super duper paint, but I don't know. I haven't talked to the Persco guys to figure it out.
Yeah. I love it. No one's done fleck. No fleck in the paint job.
Do not do a metallic paint. I tell you.
No, 1980s Camaro ski boat.
Camaro ski boat.
I went to Sanctuary Cove. My God, look at all those bloody ski boats painted with all. It's like going back in time. Anyway.
Yeah.
We're kind of out of time, Britt. I do want to ask probably the ultimate question before we sort of run out. And, you know, I'm expecting a complete and honest answer. Who's designed the best boat? Which one's going to win?
Come on, mate. Come on.
Good answer.
You idiot. What stupid question's that? No, obviously we're going into the Cup. We're getting close. That's why we're getting so excited. I mean, you've got to be nervous, don't you? Like, are you picking? Like, you must have some sense of who's going fast. And is it?
Who's against you in the Louis Vuitton final?
Yeah, there you go. That's a great question. Better advice. Well done.
Okay. I don't know. I reckon it's probably. I think it'll be Luna Rossa and us. That's what I'm pegging.
Yeah.
Good.
Luna
Rossa has been, they just got here. They've been training in Cagliari, so they're kind of off the radar doing their own thing. Yeah. And now the boat looks like a pretty slick package. But anyway, that'd be my call.
Gut feeling. That's fine. That's what we want. This is a personal interaction, a discussion about what we.
I do think
no one's going to know.
I think this is going to be a lot closer than many are.
Yeah.
And as spectators, I can tell you, Britt, that knowing you aside, as spectators, that's going to be hugely exciting for us. But look, I honestly, I can't wait. I cannot wait.
I know why you've gone that way, Britt. With that sort of final setup is both those teams have gingers in the skipper position.
It's just that extra half a knot. It's just a bit earlier on the foils, bit less. And red hair actually has less aerodynamic inefficiencies.
Less dense.
Less dense. Yeah, there's less density in our red hair.
I just can't wait for middle of September. All lining up and everyone around. It's like, the weather's not normally like this when it's about 3 knots of breeze. And actually, it's like, it is. Right. It is normally like this.
Yeah,
that's what it's all.
Yeah.
It will not be like it has ever been before. You know that.
Or there'll be a
100%.
There'll be a fuck off Mistral that comes through, and it's just like 900 million knots.
Of course, it's a La Nina now already, right? So it's totally changed everything. So
100%.
That's the cup. It's always been that way. Fremantle 87. It's never been like that here. It's always
we haven't seen it like this before.
So the selection trials kick off at the end of August for the listeners. So you got a double round robin, August 29 to September 8. September 14 to 19 is the semi-finals, best of 9. September 26 to 7 October is the finals, which is the best of 13. Why have they gone beyond more fingers and toes than I've got? I can't count that high. And then the cup itself is October 12 to 21, best of 13 as well. What happens after?
Then?
Yeah, do you just
after that?
Yeah,
that's the question, right? I mean,
Big holiday.
You guys are going again, I think.
All right. So this is the ultimate question. How long has everyone booked their accommodation for? This gives you some confidence. So for all the AC yachties out there, just check your lease.
Yeah, that's how confident your team is. Shit, we're only here till the end of August.
Well, it's that the first team that's out. It's not that far along, It's
it's not good, is it?
Pretty rough. When you consider all the effort to build this boat, and then you get to
well, that's the point. That's the point I was trying to make earlier, Brit. The amount of work on every team is huge, and we've all experienced it in one way, one form or another. But it's such an exciting year, and these boats are so cool. They're just so cool, and everyone loves their boat.
Yeah, no, they do, and it's to watch it with your own eyes is something else. The pictures are amazing, but man, watch one of these things come at you at 45 knots is something else.
Well, I can't wait. I can't wait to be down there, and I'm sure the other two of us will be there in our corporate box commentary position
on the barge, mate.
On the barge.
I love
Sitting with some laybacks.
We're working on some sponsorship deals now. To have a bit of paraphernalia about.
Paraphernalia? Bit of merch.
All right, mate. I think we'll leave it there. Brit, it's been an absolute pleasure to chat to you, as it always is, mate. And thanks for putting up with BP. I know you two spent a lot of chatting. But best of luck. I'm actually... I hate to say it. No, I don't hate to say it, actually. I honestly think you guys are red
You're a
hot.
bit of a patriot.
I'm in with Team American Magic at the moment.
Hand on heart, get up and sing the song. Star Spangled Banner, come on.
No, I'm not doing any of that crap. But I do think you're onto it at the moment. But
Mate, every day, just trying to get better. That's what it's going to take. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, awesome. You've got a nice measure of Aussies in the team, so you should go well.
Keep you balanced.
Anyway, mate, thanks for joining us.
Awesome, Brett.
Okay, guys, thanks so much.
Thanks for joining. Catch you.
See you, buddy.
See you, buddy. Bye.
Mate, how good's that? The fact we get the opportunity to speak to someone who is literally right there, sees it all, and part of it. I know personally, just some dealings within the cup and a few different things going on to actually get access, mate.
Yeah,
that is
easy,
hats off to Brit. He's either going to get sacked next week or no, not at all. No. But no, bloody awesome.
It genuinely is. Like, it will be. don't think anybody else would be able to pull this off. No one in the world would have been able to pull that
chance.
off. And
Yeah.
it's all BP.
It's all about us. It's all about us.
That's why
So-
BP wasn't here the last few weeks. He's been in negotiations. trying to-
Negotiate.
Well, I've got to say, that it was a Radix problem.
Oh, you ran out of Radix?
Ran out of Radix, and my fatigue level has been massive on Sunday
Your
morning.
energies were depleted.
My fatigue level on Sunday mornings have been just terrible here.
Oh. Well, I didn't even
there's
consider that.
No
BP.
clearer answer than that.
That's it.
It hadn't even considered because
I have been flying on Radix while I've been here. I've managed to find a supply here, and honestly, in the last week and a half or so, I've been without Radix, and I've noticed a massive difference. I've got to tell you, and it's not from sport; it's just general health. It's a huge difference. So it's true.
Yeah, no,
what they say is true. Performance through health.
Yeah, no, it is true. So fast, healthy, complete nutrition is what you're getting. It's very affordable. Made beautifully. So if you are interested in...
There's no question, isn't there?
No.
Health is affordable.
Health is affordable. Yeah, it's true, BP. It's very true. But yeah, if you want to join the Radix Revolution, the Radix Revolution.
Radix Revolution.
If you want to join... Barkarati's taking you there. So just jump on Radix Nutrition website, use Barkarati in the discount code and get a discount on us. Enjoy fabulous food that Radix offers and continue from there.
Just back onto Brit, just quickly. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
I want to touch on how proud he is. Again, because I've had obviously a lot to deal with Brit over the last few years, but this is something that I think has really tested him as a designer as well. And I think it's the same with all of the people that are involved.
Yeah.
But what a fantastic thing to achieve. I mean, all results aside, I mean, you've got to be so proud of coming up with something like that, don't you?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's very cool. It's very cool. I mean, Bicey gets proud just making a bit of carbon mast, like a bit of carbon tubing, and he gets all barred up. But
I get more than proud. I get my own carbon tube on the way.
You chuck a mast up, do you, mate?
Yeah.
The old flagpole.
But yeah, it's very cool.
I hope it's not in your hoodie.
I'm interested, really. I'm really, really interested in the cup this time around. Like a lot of people are saying, slow boats are better with the match racing, and I 100% agree with that. I much prefer the dial up with the slow boats. And the tactics of it. But we can watch that. There's plenty of that stuff going on. There's plenty of match racing stuff going on. You can watch it to your heart's content. But this is...
but that's the cup.
Yeah, this is the cup.
Let's not stuff around. The cup has been like that since 1837.
That's right. So if you want, it's all
1851.
Cool. Yeah.
I just made it up.
Memory. Anyway, so,
they were
fired up
preparing
about
for the cup in 1837.
Yeah. Let's just, Barcelona, best of luck to everybody competing. We've got mates on every team. We do seem to have talked to a lot of people from American Magic. Maybe they're the most open and giving of their time, but best of luck to all the teams. Shall we move on, my friends, after what has been a fantastic interview?
Move it on.
Move it on.
Good news during the week while I'm talking about events. Our mates from the Gold Coast who've got the new Gold Coast to Mackay race, which starts 1st of August, is now opened it up to multi-holes, which is great. And it's also a Hobart qualifier now. So that's a good one.
I love that.
Yep. So good. If you haven't entered that, do your Sydney Southport and then just you roll in, you have a day to change the beers over and put the empties out and put in the fresh ones and continue up to Mackay where they've got a great big festival. The other one, big one that's sort of happening in the US is the return of the Sailing World Regatta Series in Detroit. It's sort of disappeared over the years, and that's back on right now as we are publishing. That's a great sign. So racing on the lakes, to all our American friends based around there, good to have you going back and enjoying that. And another one that we haven't talked about for a while is the Figaro class. We haven't mentioned the Figaros for a while. The Le Havre Alma Cup, which is on right now. is held every second year, I think, from memory. But it's doing the solos in the Figaro class. I think Tom LaPerche won it last year, but that's on right now. So if you if you're into the Figaros, and who isn't, because that's the future of a lot of the French sailing scene, go and have a look at that one. So, anything else you want to bring up there, team?
No, I think that's it.
All nailed it.
Yeah, cool. All right. Jack Lloyd, Listener of the Week, is a really important one.
Isn't our monthly? Isn't this our monthly?
It is a monthly. It sounds a bit something else, but anyway. Yes. This month.
That time of the month.
Every month, our friends at Vycobi are giving away a $200 voucher to the best listener contribution. That this month has been superseded because this month they're giving away a $300 Hamilton all-weather jacket.
Well, I've entered.
You've entered?
Yeah.
I didn't see it. Where's your entry?
I'm just saying now I've entered.
No, that's why he wasn't on the last 2 weeks, because he was listening.
Yeah.
I was trying to become Listener of the Week.
Yeah, so we'll touch on that in a sec. The way it works is the emails or letters or whatever that come through this week count. So if I read something out that's this week, then it does count to the overall. One thing we did say last week, boys, you don't have to limit it to an email or anything. It can be, you can send us an audio file, you can send us video, whatever. And we got a couple of videos popped up straight away.
Friends of the show.
Friends of the show. Well, everyone's a friend of the show, aren't they? Like everyone that listens is one of our friends.
True. 100%.
David Snowd is in Lake Garda, sailing 505s, sailing with Malcolm Higgins.
Loves a freebie, by the way. Loves a freebie.
One of you guys talk about it, go on.
Well, basically, it's the most blatant case of wanting a freebie since... come on, help me out here, BP.
Oh,
help me out
the
here.
Other guy that wanted a freebie. No, but it's true.
No.
It's a beauty.
Video, and some of them would have seen it on the socials, but yeah, current location of one David Snowd, Lake Garda, getting prepared for a 505 regatta. Can't believe you didn't mention it, Jordan, by the way.
I've got it saved up.
Anyway,
it's underway.
He's gone for his little morning hike, crapped on about the Radix for a little bit, and then
crapped on.
Put in the kicker right at the end. Well, had the Barkarati t-shirt on as well. Put in the little kicker right at the end. By the way, I wouldn't mind a jacket. I'm going for Listener of the Week. I've got to say, Snowdy, congratulations. That was actually a super effort to put something in like that, and hopefully all the other listeners do that, because it's a good change of pace for us.
Hey, it's a bloody good idea. Like send videos in. We'll put them on our sites. It's bloody laugh. It's good to see these people out there doing this shit.
And apologies to the great David Snowd. I was literally 2 hours away from him in Italy at a top secret location, flying out at 10 p.m. that particular evening. I just had to drop my colleague Jared Wallace at the airport by about 1. So otherwise, we could still be in Lake Garda.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So I was going to say, you would have missed your flight. Lucky flights are transferable.
Yeah. The other person that obviously jumped on as soon as Snowdy put up his video is Jody Shields jumped on, took his dogs down
bragged about Lake Macquarie and sort of said why they've all
second
got
greatest place to sail in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
behind Port, what is it called again? Edithburg.
Okay. The question is, I've said at the start, do either of those two win a jacket? Okay, you can sit on that. Because that is a question. I'll come back to you. We'll go through this week. We do have a couple of interesting emails. So I do want to mention Frank Milner wrote in an email which is pretty important. So he is talking about Making Waves Foundation. Now, did you read this one, Boss? Do you remember this one at all? I'll bring it up.
I had a brief read, but there were some long emails.
There's some very long emails. I'll read this one. I won't read the others for length, but I will surmise. Many Barkeradians will be familiar with the good work done by the Making Waves Foundation. Here on Pittwater, the Woody Point Yacht Club, of which we have the dubious honour, which he has the dubious honour to be Commodore, digs them too, and recently donated a fair amount of what would otherwise be invested in kegs or beer and spit roast on a donation to their Rite of Passage program. Making Waves has just released a video outlining this excellent initiative, which provides the pathway for underprivileged or otherwise disadvantaged young folks to get their careers into our marine industry.
Love it.
If that doesn't already sound familiar to the Barkerati Gold, wait until you get to the second half of the video, where the Rite of Passage discloses the dinghy they have chosen as their primary vehicle for Skillsdale.
Ready?
Is
Stand up, Australia.
Bum, bum, bum. Drum roll, drum roll.
The mighty Rambo, as he spelt it. I'm calling them
mighty
Rambos.
Rainbow. Love it.
I hope that inspires you to give the program a plug. They deserve it, and I hope you agree.
We're going to see a rebirth of rainbows and Pittwater. What a
Mate, not only Pittwater, globally, given the reach that we do have, it's just a natural evolution. We just come back, spun back to all the good stuff. So, no, Frank, that's bloody good. And he sent in quite a few photos as well of the rainbow.
Yeah. You know who Bicey's favourite is for Listener of the Month?
Well, I'm giving it to you.
We've got a bit of competition here between the 5-0s and the rainbow. Eh?
Yeah. You might have to be the independent arbiter, BP.
I think I might.
Yeah. I love it. I got an email from Paul Swanson. Now, I can't read it, Paul. You're a bloody good man. You spent hours and hours writing this. You may or may not.
Even he admits it.
Yeah. You may or may have not had a few wines as you're doing this. It gave us a full history. Obviously, a very experienced yachty, has done an awful lot and has been, like us, been involved in the sport from day one. Told us about the family boat growing up and what he's doing with the kids now after he's doing some work in the Cup. All this sort of stuff, right? Just went on and on and on and on and on and on. Talked about the family, the relationship. Talked about investing, buying houses. When was the first time he kissed a girl? How he planted a tree in the backyard. He's now had a swing on it for the kids. You know,
he made the seat of the swing out of.
Yeah, exactly.
Was it a double overhand knot at the end and the stopper of the seat?
Yeah. Now I'll go right to the last paragraph. Now, the reason I sent this message, you spoke of a person renovating old moss. There's a bloke over here called Greg Reynolds who's buying old boats from dinghies to flying 15s to old keel boats, refurbing them, racing them, and then selling them. Credit to him. Mate, I wanted to mention this email because there's a lot here. The kids are into watching Melitza, Boris on Melitza, and during the ocean race, love the SAR GP. The kids are getting attracted to it. He was plugging someone else, but, the effort. I just figured we had to reward the effort that you went to.
100%.
Because there was a lot of writing there, and you took us on an emotional journey. Maybe we should just... Anyway.
We actually had to have a group call to read it together, Swan.
Yeah. But I just wanted to raise that as a discussion. Now, so they're the two that I want to mention this week. I've gone back through every email, as I do. You two don't. For the month, yep. I've gone back through every email. And the two that stood out beyond this week were, one, the AI message talking about how we've got 1 million listeners. And congratulations. That was
Congratulations, AI. You're getting a jacket coming your way.
Who do we give that jacket to? Who's AI?
Alan Ingle.
Alan Ingle.
The other one that really stood out was an email from Pat at Vicobi saying, how about this week we give away one of the new Hamilton all-weather jacket? And so we can't give that back to Pat, obviously. That was a good one. And then there was a lot of stuff just going backwards and forwards around the discussion around bringing more people into sailing and all that. But I'm interested which you guys, is there any that jump out for you guys? Because there is an obvious one for me, but I actually think people giving away money to to bring people into the sport, I think that deserves a jacket. So I'm actually leaning towards Frank. I don't know if you guys have got any other views at all.
Look, I like what Snoddy did.
Yeah, that's why I'm interested in this. That's why I haven't seen it.
I would argue, like, he's one of our biggest fans.
Yep.
And we mentioned his name. We actually should get him on at some point in time.
Be a good chat.
So we can actually really
speaking
rip
of
the
big
piss
fans.
out of him
Yeah.
whilst he's on the show.
Yeah,
instead
give
of
it nowhere
just
to
doing
run.
it
Yeah, nowhere
behind
to
his
run.
back.
Well, actually, there was one other one that I forgot to mention. One of our, speaking of biggest fans, Denise.
Yeah, Denise Delmundo for sure.
She sent us a video of her walking in thongs, and they're going. She was walking along, going flip flop, flip flop, flip flop. That's why they're called flip flops. They're not called thongs. And
she's never seen me wear a thong though.
Did you see my
dreams
response
about it.
Did you see what I
I
wrote
saw
back?
your response.
Did-
I saw your response.
yeah,
What? Yeah, sorry. Just going back to the Snowd quickly,
Mhm.
or as good mate, Carlin calls him micro. I like the fact that he's introduced a new medium and promoted the new medium that people can send in videos.
Yes.
That side of things.
Yeah, okay.
Because
all right,
the visual part of it, I love it. So a shout out to anyone out there. Just send us a little video where you are. Like, this is
what you're
the new
doing.
cool thing.
What
And we'll just
regalia you-
audio.
What
we'll
regalia
post
you
it
at?
or audio. Absolutely. Yeah. No, fantastic.
So
I've got I'm voting Snowd.
okay.
Yeah, I'll go down that path. I'm not biased towards one of our greatest mates, but I think it's worth it.
Okay, so Snowdy wins.
As
You
much
meant
as it
to go
hurts me to
against
say
me,
it.
VP.
Hey?
We talked about it at the start of the show. He was
What?
meant to not get voted in.
Oh, okay. So Snowdy doesn't win?
No, Snowdy wins.
Okay.
Just joking.
Well, Frank, I apologise. I had Frank winning that one. So, yeah, it's good. We had debate on the show. All right. So, there you go. The new technology wins it.
Wingsuit.
Wins it, not wingsuit.
Just to jump off the mountains at Garda.
Well,
Yeah, no, don't
at
do
least,
that.
yeah, either way, it was going to go to someone that was going to use the crap out of it. So, that's good. So, congratulations. And
So I doubt I'm not sure where Snowdy's going to put it in that cupboard with all the other freebies that he gets.
let's just say, for the people that don't know, Snowdy, speaking of giving money to charities,
No,
there's
huge.
One of the
probably a
more
man that's,
generous men that you'll ever come across.
yeah, there's a man that's probably, there'd be very few men on the planet that have contributed more than he has. So I'll just get that out there, just in case we're thinking,
Let's call it a life achievement award.
life achievement.
Jesus. This is amazing. What did we just come up with?
Snowdy gets the life achievement award.
Oh, dear.
Not unlike the most improved. It's there.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Get it off, Icy.
It's hot time with Bice.
Oh, mate, it is a bit of hot time because I tell you what, the Woody, she's
Heating up.
holding in a bit of heat. Now I've got my Ugg boots on as well. Bloody hell.
Oh, toes will be crispy.
Yeah, toes are certainly crispy. But anyway, hot time with Bice. Let's go. New York Vonday, gents.
Oh,
This is what's happening at the moment.
I'm riveted to this
Who's
one,
got it?
actually. It's really quite cool.
Who's got it in front of him?
Oh,
Anyone at
the
moment?
J-Dog.
Not me.
The J-Dog.
J-Dog? You got it up there?
J-Dog's got it.
Yeah.
Had it there before.
Yeah. So
Last
obviously,
tracking point.
Oh no! Before we go into it, so started during the week.
Mhm.
They had to sail offshore to the virtual start line, which is about 6 miles long, and just hang about
100 miles
over-
offshore.
overnight, mind you, to wait for the start at 2 p.m. local the following day. Oh, that's a bit of a what would you
Feat
say?
in itself. Feat in itself.
Oh, an absolute feat in itself, but kind of takes away a bit of the.
Yeah, I got to say, I
what's
watched,
the word?
I watched
What's the
the
words
start
I'm grasping for here?
under
A
desperate.
bit underwhelming. The start. let's say.
Underwhelming, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not
Because
like you
you
can
know
fly
that
a
whole
drone.
the whole fever. They all go off the dock. They're all about to start, and it's like, oh, here we go. We'll just motor out here. We'll just go 100 miles offshore. But luckily enough, there was no wind, so they just hung out for a bit.
Yeah, that's true.
Imagine it was cranking, like 35 or so. That would just be an absolute shocker. So, anyway, something lesson learned or not?
They did
sure.
it because of the whales, the wildlife,
100%.
right?
So, we got nothing against the whole environmental side and the whales and all that sort of thing. But is this the question I'm asking? Is this going to affect our sport in more ways than one? It came down. It was something that came up in the Sydney Hobart this year for that bit of a zone, all those sorts of things. Is this something we're going to see more and more of, or what do you think?
We ain't going to see less of it.
Yeah, that's right. Good answer.
All
right,
We've already talked about the day I got told. Already talked about the day I got told to up anchor because there was dolphins nearby and we couldn't have lunch.
Yeah, well, fair enough too. Those dolphins love a chicken sanger. So.
Up anchor.
They didn't want to choke on the chicken bones.
Did they go and let everyone off the mooring, boys, as well, BP? They go and let all those boats off the mooring, boys? If they're telling you to up anchor? That's the strangest thing I've ever heard.
Keep going. Let's move on.
Okay. Yeah, right. So she's underway. Obviously, they're racing back to Franceland. And look, it's awkward weather systems, I guess, is the best way to describe it.
That's the best way to describe it, yeah.
Yeah, they're going out into all sorts of funny weather systems. I'm interested in the strategy. So at the moment it's saying, the tracker shows Boris Herman leading on Melitza. And remember, I think he got second coming in, which is fantastic because that boat's slightly heavier design for the Volvo. He went for a slightly stronger design. It's not as stripped out as some of the other boats, but they're all bunched. You can't make anything. So currently, Boris and then Charlie Dallin and then Nicholas Lundven is in third. They're right on the edge. They're sitting around the eye of a weather system. They're just behind a ridge. Not much you can read into it at all. The only thing I did want to highlight is we got a little bit of a flyer. Benjamin Dutroux on Geo Environment is heading a little bit further south. The question I wanted to ask is if you know your charts for that region or the shape of the continental shape there, do you reckon a lot of those boats are just going to hang a little to the north and go and watch the Sail GP?
Yeah, just heading to Halifax.
Call in Halifax.
Going Nova Scotia way.
Well, I don't know what Jackie looking at there. That idea to go south don't look like it paid off for him.
No, well,
so old Benjamin, he's dropped right back and is going to struggle to cross in front of the non-foilers at this stage.
You know who I've got my money on right now? Sam Davies.
You got your money on?
Sam Davies is looking pretty good in a minute. She's a bit further in the south, got plenty of breeze. And as you mentioned, the leading pack, they're just emerging out of the soft patch now.
Yep.
And then they're all about to put the hammer down.
Yep.
Of course, we've got a handful of Barcaratians in the event, and right behind Sam Davies is one James Herrera, who sent in a photo the other day of teaching people what Barcarati was on the New York docks.
He did.
He sent that yesterday, by the way, while he was racing.
Yes. Yeah, saw that.
Nice.
The other thing is the Gulf Stream is not super strong through there at the moment. Normally you can get quite a strong Gulf Stream that takes you north, and you can get some pretty quick times heading back on the Northern Atlantic route, as we know. So it is quite interesting whether that's going to play out. So the strategy, we obviously haven't run the weather models, but she's a bit confusing.
Mate, that's getting way technical.
Yeah, that's right.
If we start doing that shit, we'll never have any jobs in our life.
We'll never get anything done.
All right, moving on, boys.
Yeah.
Move on.
Good games, quick games.
Keep going.
The Canadian debut of Sail GP.
Yeah.
Currently underway at time of recording. So we got all results for you.
The first day is currently underway live as we're recording.
Yeah, as we are recording.
Yep.
So we'll be watching a replay once we get off this, I'm guessing. But yeah, the Canadian, they have plenty of wind enough wind on day one at the moment. I haven't really delved too deep in it yet. Yeah,
So we
Northern
just
Australians
do-
just loving life.
Let's just record a whole bunch of different congratulations and we can publish it with it. So, congratulations to Germany for your unexpected win. No.
Ah, that's great. I
Well done,
what would
Australia, for your
really
comeback.
top it off for me is if one of our favourite shows, they all went down there to meet with the Aussies, to meet with the Southern Australians.
Yeah.
And that's the Letterkenny crew.
Wouldn't that be funny? I know which part of the crew I want attending too, but
Yeah, I've got an idea which one too.
Wayne's
That
good.
bartender, she's just a weapon.
Bonnie McMurray.
Anyway, all right. Lee McMurray. All right,
He's
moving
a
on.
weapon.
All right, moving on, boys.
No comment.
I'll save this one for last, the other one. The 151 miler is going on, or as they call it in Italy, the 151 Miglia. I believe that's the correct pronunciation.
Yeah. Is it?
So it's currently,
I think
run
it's
and
just
one.
finished. Yeah.
Yeah. So across the line, and this is call it the first big race of the European season. We've got the Arca took it out. Now, Arca, you ask, who is that?
I am
That
asking.
is the ex-Scandia
Oh.
Don Jones 100 foot.
There
No.
you go.
He's on fire.
Yes.
It won the long racing Cup Prix, burst across the line, beat all the Wally Shentos. It's won this particular race in front of the Flying Nika. We all know the Flying Nika, the Mill 70 whatever. Yep. But it was quite the traditional race course got changed due to some extra bees coming in, and then a few park ups and a few different things. But the majority of the boats are in. So congrats to all there. But the only other thing I took away from this, boys, which is a bit different for us from the southern lands, IRC, 30 boats registered. ORC,
Yep.
114.
Wow.
Yep. It's huge. We're seeing it. I'm seeing it here every day.
Exactly. So
ORC, the offshore recumbent.
incumbent cyclists.
Bunch of backward facing cyclists with orange flags.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Imagine actually if they were just a little bit higher and the aero helmet, but they've got the aero helmet the wrong way. It's got the big point, the point facing up. But they wouldn't get sunburnt.
Love it.
All right. Sorry.
Too much fun.
Next one, boys, the America's Cup, the Trophy Tour has kicked off. So they're doing a bit of a tour similar to the Olympic Flame with the actual cup going around a few major cities in España, particularly in the region, the Catalonia. Is that the region?
Yep.
Yeah, Catalonia.
Yeah, Catalonia. Sorry, my mistake. But speaking of trophies, did you see it this week? The Puig Women's AC Trophy.
Oh, don't start.
The shape of it.
Oh,
Did we speak
what
about
are
this
they-
last week?
No.
Maybe.
No.
Anyway, no.
Glad
Anyway, did
didn't,
you see it?
because, oh my
No.
God, what are they thinking?
Jordan Spencer.
No.
All right, everyone in front of their computers or on their phones right now, Google it. Puig, Puig, Women's AC Trophy, and you'll see it. I must admit, when I first just bring it up, Jordan, before I
I'm going
explain,
for
give my explanation.
it. Yeah, hang on.
Come on, haven't you seen
So
it?
when I
You of all
first saw-
people haven't seen it.
When I
I
first saw it, it's basically when I first saw it, it looked to me like a bit of destructive testing was going on a bit of old rod rigging. So
No, I've got a broken. I've got a broken. You know those
No.
things that used to go in the top of engines, that the
Oh.
air filters.
oh yeah,
Yeah, I've got one
I
of
thought
those.
you were
that's
going to
been cut
call
in
about
half.
the old piston broke.
Wow.
Yeah, well, that too.
It's got.
You see what I'm
it's
looking
horrible.
at, Jordan Spencer and
I
the
am.
listener?
Yeah.
What an absolutely ridiculous trophy.
Well, we used to take the piss
You've
out
got-
of.
You've got your theories and trophies, Jordan.
Well,
I mean, the
yes.
America's Cup's a beauty because you can pour beer out of that.
Yeah.
The Volvo Ocean Race,
Disaster.
Volvo World Race, disaster. Doesn't even hold a beer.
Yeah.
It's got all the rings.
This one,
This one
nothing.
can't even balance your beer on it.
Oh, wow. No, I hadn't noticed that. Anyway, I've seen it now. Yes.
Yeah. So, listener, yep, check it
Write
out.
in and tell us what you think, because we've got the ability to change it.
The poor designer.
Taking
that
nothing
designed
away,
it,
of
sitting
course.
out there having
Taking
a cry.
nothing away, of course, from the artist. That
Yeah,
put that
exactly.
together. It's such a beautiful,
No, we're not. No.
such a beautiful piece that I've seen.
Yeah, and
work by the artist.
shit, that person's being judged by 3 idiots. So let's be honest. It's not
Yeah,
as though we've got
totally.
any cultural skills. Anyway, continue.
No, that's right.
Or any talent or any ability. Yeah.
Yeah,
Nothing.
that's it.
One
got
we
nothing
could have
compared
done could have looked like a squished beer can.
Well, I don't know what it looks like. There was some bloody funny comments on it, though.
Oh yeah, absolutely. What else we got?
Some you
here?
couldn't repeat.
I think there's a few little things going on.
Yeah, there's a bit of stuff we have to mention. I do want to mention one good thing. If we've talked so much about promoting sailing and trying to drive it in Australia, Australian Sailing have got their sailing summits coming up.
Yes,
and they're calling out to anyone. You can come along if you're a decision maker in the sailing community. Come and join the Australian senior management and board members. This is the most important thing you can do. Let's get off there. So committee members, sailing general managers, sailing managers, head coaches, instructors. It's open and it's free. And I just want to draw people's attention to it. So it's going to all the states. If you go to Sailing.org and then to their community page, and then you'll find the Sailing Summit link. So those things are open, and obviously they've been underway. So you may have missed a couple of them, but I just wanted to draw attention to that they're going on. So obviously Australian Sailing have listened to sort of some of the banter and they've pushed this towards us.
I was going to say, do you think they're feeling some of the pressure applied by
I don't know if they feel... I mean...
Baccarati.
I doubt that highly.
Well, we can't even get a nomination for an award.
No. So my suggestion, let's monitor these sailing summits. I actually went to one last year, held at the Squadron here in SA. Monitor, and let's get someone from Australian Sailing on once the summits are complete to give us a bit of a wrap up
Nice
of
idea.
where things have ended up.
That's a great idea. Okay.
I love the way you come up with ideas like that, boss. You're the ideas, man.
I'm on the ideas.
I love it. Cool. But anyway, so there's a chance. There's only a few of them left, but I just thought I'd raise that as a discussion. Jump on, particularly if you're in Western Australia, South Australia, Queensland, you've got your chance to jump onto that. And the other one that we have to mention is the note that came out from World Sailing about their Steer the Course program. So they've put out a plan, and you've got to have a plan to move things forward to make our sport gender equal right across by 2028. So World Sailing have set goals of having a target of 30% for women registered as coaches and support staff at the World Sailing Champs. They want 35% women registered as coaches or team leaders at the Youth Sailing Champs, the 26 Youth Champs. They want 50% of women attending World Sailing technical courses for coaches during the 25 to 28 quadrennial, and 50% representation of female race officials at World Sailing Championships and their LA Olympic Games. So there's opportunities for women in our sport in a massive way. Obviously, this Olympics that's just about to happen is the first Olympics where it's got equal participation, equal number of men and women participating. So I just thought I'd mention that. So
I'd just be interested in what the trickle down here is. We're obviously talking about world sailing events like Worlds and Olympics and all that sorts of things, but how do we get that into the clubs?
Yeah, well, this is the pathway. So it's a plan. Things don't always go to plan, is all I'll say, because it's difficult, obviously, to draw the limited number of women we have in the sport. I think our sport's better for more women. The more women, the better. If all you pricks pissed off and it was just me and all the women in the world, it'd be, I think it'd be a better sport. But the point is that the more women we can have, the better. Obviously, to create these numbers, we've got a limited pool, but by giving more opportunities and recognition, that encourages more women to stay in the sport. And so I think it's great having a goal. So yeah, if you're
Yep.
female and you're out there and you
I
want to
don't think anyone disagrees with that, Jordan Spencer.
Yeah. So if you want to do more in the sport, the opportunities exist. And so yeah, good on them.
Cool. Good.
Bloody
Nice,
hell.
boys.
What
Good
else?
chat.
What else?
Long episode. Good to catch up though, lads. Sorry. I
Oh,
missed the
great
last
for you
couple
to
of
join us, BP. It's
Yeah,
been a
well.
pleasure.
weeks.
Yeah.
Yes, no, it's
See you in about 3 or 4 weeks, I guess.
Definitely have to apologise. But anyway, moving forward, looking forward to next week. Got something.
Oh, it's a long
exciting to talk
weekend. Next weekend. So,
about.
no. Well, it is a long weekend. So,
Well, it was.
We'll sort it out. We'll sort that out off air, shall we? But yeah, no, great episode. Good fun. And to everyone involved and doing everything, have a great time. Remember, just send in anything you want. You know, we love it. Obviously, we don't
Videos,
reply to
audios.
everything. That's not lack of love. It's just we've got plenty on, but we are reading everything. So we're very grateful. So we'll take audio
send the videos
files,
in. Love
videos, audio files, whatever. Cool.
I've given everyone. I've just put your WhatsApp number on our website as well, Jordan.
Just record it and send an email file on an email to us. I'm not giving out WhatsApp numbers. All right, boys, leave you in peace.
Cheers.
Congratulations.
Get out the guitar. Get out the
33%
banjo string,
attendance.
BP.
33% attendance record for the last 3 weeks. I reckon BP was recording a new song.
In my head.